I live a little crazy. Let me set this up. Hey, so I am Danny the Teach. This is Beauty Manifested. This is a channel for storytelling, but I also dabble into a little bit of lifestyle. This will be a little bit of a lifestyle content video. So something that, well, it's also storytelling, but gardening season is upon us. I have started all my seeds for spring. I'm like so excited. The weather is starting to look nice. I'm down in Texas, so we get warm a little bit early. I'm from Michigan, where the frost date isn't until May. So if you guys are from cold places, I'm sorry. But for me, it's feeling like spring, and I'm so excited about that. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the reason that I garden. And I was thinking about this in the car. There's been like a little drama in the gardening communities about, I don't know, some article came out. I don't really want to talk about that. But it just got me thinking about gardening as a skill set, because I had made another video about how I'm learning cybersecurity because it was important to me to have like a valuable skill and be able to use my gifts to contribute to the world in a meaningful way and all of these things. And then I was thinking about it, and I wasn't really considering like my gardening a skill because it's less valuable in the capitalistic marketplace. Like, I don't really make money from my gardening, and ultimately that isn't the reason that I garden. But I was listening to Epic Gardening from the Epic Gardening Homestead, and he was kind of talking about, like, people were asking him like, oh, he has a 5,500 gallon rainwater collecting system, and it probably cost him a good amount of money to put in. And people were asking like, okay, like, is it worth the money? And he was like, well, the way that I look at it is, it like, if you run the numbers, no, I'm not saving money on my water bill by collecting rainwater. So no, if you're looking at it just like strictly financially, it's not worth it. So if you are coming with a purely capitalistic mindset, no, it's not worth it. However, if ever we're in a situation where we don't have access to water, there's a drought, you know, like whatever the case may be, which can definitely happen, it's priceless. There's no price you can put on it. And so that really got me into my gardening, amongst other things. It's like, yeah, I spend a lot of money on my garden. I spend a lot of time on my garden, like, and I wasn't really considering it a skill set, like a valuable skill set, because technically it's not that valuable in the marketplace. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, there's farmers and there's a ton of people who make money from their gardening. I don't. However, it's really an invaluable skill set. Like, it's priceless. Like, I can't really put a dollar amount on it because the food that I get to consume, the time that I spend in the sun, like, my gardening, honestly. And just so you know, I'm very much someone who identifies with like my hobbies and also my career. Like, I didn't even know that I was someone who identifies with my career so strongly until I am transitioning careers, and I like, oh my gosh, I had so much of myself identified. And even like, I worked with a stylist before, and she was like, how come all of your clothes are work clothes? And I'm like, I don't know. But it's so funny because before I had opened that business where I would have to dress like more professional, I literally didn't have any clothes like that. So I just very much identify with whatever I spend my time doing, which is usually working, and then even like working in the garden and things like that. So I strongly identify with like being a gardener, and I feel like it makes me different than other people. Like, I was talking to one guy, and he's like pretty healthy too, but he lives in the city, and he's like a very different kind of healthy. He's more like body healthy. Like, he wants to like have abs, and he goes to the gym and does like a lot of weightlifting. Like, he's like a little bit different. I'm more holistic healthy, like very hippie, sustainable living, like producing organic produce, raising chickens. I don't raise chickens, but you know, like, I'm into stuff like that, permaculture, all of that kind of stuff. And it really is a big part of my identity and my value system, and it sets me apart from other people. So I was talking to that guy, and he was like kind of praising me. He was like, yeah, well, I guess we were talking about people who become overweight and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, like, oh, I think I was saying, oh, I have skinny genes, as in like genetically the people in my family are not that overweight, which isn't necessarily true, but in general, like, I feel like I have a fast metabolism and I'm not likely to be overweight. And he's like, yeah, but you're also just like a healthy eater. Like, you're not someone who goes on diets. Like, you genuinely enjoy eating vegetables and things, which a lot of people, you don't see in a lot of people. I just met someone today who was talking about, he said he doesn't eat vegetables. I'm like, that's weird. Very weird. So, and I told him, I was like, well, I'm a gardener. Like, I grow vegetables. Of course I eat vegetables. And my garden has done that for me. Like, I didn't used to eat eggplant. Like, I didn't, why would I go buy an eggplant from the grocery store? I didn't have any eggplant recipes. But then I started growing eggplant in my garden, and it's one of my summer staples. It's one of my favorite vegetables, quite frankly. I love eggplant. I can have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's so delicious. I like to make baba ganoush. I like to just saute it. Love eggplant. I even tried it raw before. Not my favorite. But I love eggplant. It's delicious. Same okra. I did like okra, but I would only eat it in gumbo. Now I eat okra all the time. I will eat okra raw. I love okra. So gardening has become very much a part of my identity. It's very much a part of my value system. And I was on this like holistic health journey before I started my garden. Well, actually no, because I had been gardening since I was a kid. But anyways, when I was in kind of like middle school, high school, I kind of got into like diet culture, like skinny girl culture. You know, I went to school with a lot of white girls, and white girls are like into that whole skinny thing. But I think I was into it more than they were into it, because like I'm just someone who would really think about the things that I eat. And so back then I was like, oh, I don't want to eat carbs. I don't want to eat bread. And then I evolved and I went through like a little vegan phase, like, okay, I don't want to do this. And then during the vegan phase is when I got into the gardening. But as I look back and I kind of evaluate like my personality type and the things that I value and the things that I'm like drawn to, I was always going to be a gardener. Like, it was inevitable. Like, it's very much a part of who I am and what the kind of life that I want to live and what's important to me. I don't know that I can really like convince someone else to garden. All I can do, and I feel this way about religion too, like sometimes I'll see these weird posts that are like, prove to me that your God exists. I can't really do that. Like, you have to witness it for yourself. Like, that's a very personal journey. I can't tell you why to garden. All I can be is a testimony. I hope and aspire that the way that I live my life will inspire you to maybe want to adopt some of those things. When you see the results that I'm having in my life and you see the joy and the peace and the serenity that I radiate, then maybe you will want to try some of the things that I try. But nobody had to convince me to start a garden. And nobody had to convince me that Jesus is the answer. It's just something that I was called to. And of course, like, I gardened when I was little, and then I didn't garden for a while, and now I'm like back into it. And then I was raised on Christianity, and I kind of got away for a little bit, and now I'm back in it. And so it's all a journey. Your life is going to be what it is. I do believe in just like everything being intentional. I believe in God having a plan for your life, and it's going to unfold accordingly. I'm never here to convince anyone to do anything, because no one has to convince me to do the things that I want to do. It's like, convince me to be a kind person. I'm not kind because someone has to convince me. And that kind of pulls me into another thing. Like, my dad, me and my dad were kind of having like a little debate, I guess. Because he was basically saying, like, if we didn't have laws and like law enforcement, then people would just be like chaotic. That's not exactly what he said. I don't want to misquote him or misinterpret his ideas, but that's like basically he was saying, like, the only reason that people do right is because there's consequences to their actions otherwise, which I kind of believe in, but not necessarily through like law enforcement. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have law enforcement. I love law enforcement. But what I'm saying is, like, I believe that people have like an internal moral code and a leaning towards goodness. I believe that people are good. I think even if there weren't any laws, or like just because the reason that I don't go kill someone is not because I don't want to go to jail. I don't kill someone because I don't want to. Like, that will do nothing for me. And I would say, like, people who do kill people, jail doesn't, like, if they want to kill someone, I don't think that jail being a consequence is going to keep them from doing that. Like, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And that's like rare cases, like the serial killers, the mass shooters, et cetera, et cetera. But I would argue, I don't know if this is even true, I don't know the stats, but I think that most murders are done out of some like misinformed necessity, like, or some sort of like emotional outburst, which is a result of poor mental health. So it could, which now I'm tied back into the gardening. I believe that a lot of the mental health that we see in society today is a side effect of our poor diets. You will see that nations that have a healthier diet and restrict more of the chemicals that are not restricted here in the US have lower crime rates, have less mass shootings, have more community, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We are consuming a lot, we are exposed to a lot of toxicities here in the US, and we specifically have the highest number of mass shootings. Once again, I don't really think that the law is what keeps people in check. So a lot of people like to blame like the gun laws for why like there's so many mass shootings. I would like to blame the standard American diet. I don't know if they're right, I don't know if I'm right, but that is just like based on me, but also like what came first, the chicken or the egg, because I feel like the diet that we consume, the side effect of that is so many issues with mental health and the way that we socialize. But also, like, it's a certain kind of mindset of person. And granted, I've never been poor before, and so I have a limited perspective. But like, to me, it's a certain kind of person who's eating meat out of a can. I'm like, that is so far out of touch with reality. I'm like, wait, what's going on? Like, why? I wouldn't even think to do that. Who even thought to put the meat in the can in the first place? Like, it's just so crazy. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, the gardening was really inevitable for me, like, just based on the kind of person I am and the things that I like. Like, I was always gonna garden. I always liked buying like the healthy produce. I like the like luxury markets, not the luxury markets, but you know, like the like niche markets. And I always liked farmers markets and traders, like flea markets and things like that. So it wasn't surprising that I got into gardening by any means. And of course, like I said, like my grandparents did teach me how to garden when I was little, so I already had that exposure. But like, people who garden are just a totally different breed of people, and we have a common value. I even talked about in one of my other videos, I was walking through my neighborhood and I saw the most beautiful garden. I was like, oh my gosh, it was gorgeous. And then as I kept walking, they had their garage open and they had a Trump 2024 flag. And I'm black, you know, black people usually don't support Trump. And I'm not really political anyway, so it already doesn't matter to me. But when I saw that, I was like, you know, so many black people would see this flag and be like, oh, she's a racist, she's this, she's that. Possibly it's true. I don't even know the lady. But I was like, no, like anyone who cares for their garden in that way is a good person to me. And we can align on a lot of different things. We may not be a part of the same political party, but just the fact that we both value having a beautiful home, a beautiful space, presenting your home as a work of art. We like to take care of things outside of ourselves. We have some things in common, like our values are aligned. And so people who garden, it's like it's very much identity. Like, it's very much identity. We have shared values. We are a group. Even a gardener I've never met before, I just know that we're gonna have a lot of the same values and a lot of the same reasons for gardening. We're probably gonna have similar diets, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. So that's a little bit why I garden. The reason I even thought about this was I was not really considering my gardening a skill set, but it's actually a priceless skill set. And I'm also learning cybersecurity, which I'm also like in love with and very passionate about. So do both. But life is not necessarily all about being valuable in the marketplace. Sometimes you have to do something just to survive. And I guess I'll say one last thing that bothers me, or it doesn't bother me, but I just think it's so weird when people will be like, I don't know how to cook. It just seems like something you would have to do for human survival. And obviously, those people are surviving, so no, they don't have to cook. And I'm not trying to, like, they don't have to cook. I just made the most delicious meal, and I just came up with it. I didn't even go to the grocery store, so I just made it out of the things that we already had at the house. So good. It was like a lemon cream sauce pasta. So good. 10 out of 10. Anyways, like, to me, someone saying I don't know how to cook isn't like saying like I don't know how to brush my teeth. What? Like, how have you made it this far? Like, why do you not know that? And why do you not want to know that? That's the real thing for me. Like, it's like, okay, yeah, I could order DoorDash. I could have other people cook for me. I could hire a chef. I could do all these things. But like, why do you not have any desire to cook? That's so strange to me because you have to eat every single day. And I feel that way about gardening, but I know that everyone's not going to be into gardening. And that's fine, kind of, because 100 years ago, you grow what you eat. Like, if you don't grow, then you don't eat. Same thing with cooking. Like, if you don't cook, then you don't eat. So that's why it's so weird when people like, I don't cook, I don't do this. And I'm like, okay, weird, but okay. Like, why would you not know how to grow your own food? Like, people don't even know what a tomato plant looks like, yet they eat ketchup every day. I'm like, it's just like, it's the lack of curiosity for me. Like, I feel like that's what gets me. Like, why? It's just so bizarre. It's like I'm living in like some like mixed up reality. Like, you eat every day, but you don't know where your food comes from. You don't know how to grow it. You don't know how to cook it. You're not even eating real food because you don't even know what food is. So you're eating like Kraft's mac and cheese and just like stuff with packets and like this nasty food. So I'm like, okay, so clearly you've never had a delicious meal before. But then these people eat at these 5-star restaurants. So it's like, okay, well, you've eaten food before. So I'm just like so baffled. Like, baffled. And I can't even eat a lot of people's cooking because it's just disgusting. The ingredients are trash. The cooking method's trash. The flavor trash. Like, it's just not good. Like, I'm just not impressed. I know this is a little negative, but I just wanted to rant. Like, I had to get this off my chest. Like, why are the people not cooking? Why are the people not gardening? Like, why do you not know what a tomato plant looks like? Like, I'm so concerned. But at the same time, like, some stuff, like, you can get good produce at the store. So I'm not saying like you have to garden to be healthy. I'm not. I know it's not realistic for everyone. A lot of people live in apartments. A lot of people don't have the space. Like, I'm not saying everyone has to garden, but I would just like to see like a little bit more curiosity in like the food that we put in our body. Like, that's it. Like, just a little intentionality. Like, that's all I'm really asking for. I would love to see that. A little effort for your health. A little. It's for the greater good, really, because I'm telling you, like, if you have a bad diet, first of all, it's just so much that goes into it. Because the kind of person who feels okay eating just like fast food every day, there's something's not clicking. Like, this is not okay. It's like people, it's a lot going on. And then two, if you do eat fast food every day, then that just furthers the problem because your mind is still not developing and it's being stunted by the fast food. And so it's a continuous cycle. I would just encourage people to do their best. I know it's hard. Life is hard. Everything's hard. But I would just put as much effort into your health as you can. That's all I have to say. I love you guys. Be beautiful. Be blessed. I know this was a rant, but this channel is for me ultimately, and I had to get this off my chest. I love you. Peace.